Hello to all curious minds, and welcome to this new intellectual journey. Today, we face one of the most persistent illusions of our daily existence. I am talking about that silent tyranny that governs our schedules, our biological rhythms, and our modern anxiety. Today, we are going to talk about time. Before we begin this journey, a necessary brief comment. To bring this philosophical narrative to life, I have used artificial intelligence tools to generate the images you will see next. Think of them as an atmospheric canvas, a visual illustration to accompany our ideas, rather than a literal historical reality. I hope you enjoy it. Imagine for a moment that you are looking at your watch. You see the hands move, you hear the rhythmic ticking. You believe you are measuring time. But what if I told you that what the clock measures isn't time at all? What if I told you that by trying to measure it, you have killed it, turning it into something static and lifeless? This provocative idea was at the heart of the thought of Henri Bergson, one of the most fascinating and celebrated figures of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Bergson was an intellectual celebrity, a philosopher who filled lecture halls in Paris, offering a vitalist alternative to the cold materialism of his era. To understand Bergson, we must understand what he was fighting against. In his time, science and positivism reigned supreme. It was believed that everything in the universe, including human consciousness and life itself, could be explained through mechanisms of cause and effect, as if we were gears in an immense cosmic machine. Bergson looked at this mechanistic model and felt that something crucial was being left out. Science was excellent at analyzing inert matter, predicting eclipses, or building bridges, but when it tried to apply its rules to life, to internal experience, and to freedom, it failed miserably. The central problem, Bergson argued, was our conception of time. We have been trained to think of time in a spatial way. We imagine it as a straight line, a series of successive points, like the marks on a ruler or the seconds on a clock. But that, Bergson tells us, is spatializing time. When we spatialize time, we turn it into a series of static nows, one next to the other. But the real experience of living is not a series of disconnected points. Our consciousness does not jump from one second to another like the needle of a mechanical clock. Our experience flows. To this fluid and continuous experience, Bergson gave the name real duration, or in French, la durée. Duration is time lived, felt, and experienced from within. It is qualitative, not quantitative. It cannot be measured or divided without destroying it, just as you cannot divide a melody without breaking the song. Think of it like this. When you listen to a melody, you don't hear an isolated note, then forget it, and then hear the next one. No, each note melts into the previous one and anticipates the next. The past penetrates the present and projects itself into the future in an organic and indivisible flow. That is duration. The error of science and common sense is treating time as if it were space. Space is homogeneous. 1 meter is identical to another meter, and you can travel across it backward. But real time is irreversible and heterogeneous. A minute of agonizing waiting is not the same as a minute of ecstasy. Bergson uses Zeno's famous paradox to illustrate this. Remember the race between Achilles and the tortoise. Zeno argued that Achilles could never catch the tortoise because every time he reached where the tortoise had been, it had already moved a bit further, dividing the space infinitely. Mathematically, the paradox is difficult to solve. But Bergson says it is a false problem. Zeno is treating movement as a series of static points in space. But movement is an indivisible act. Achilles does not go from point to point. He runs in a single flow of duration. By stopping movement to analyze it, we kill it. We turn it into a series of still photos. And no amount of still photos, no matter how many, can ever recreate real movement. This is the cinematographic illusion Bergson speaks of, and it is fundamental to his critique of human intelligence. Here we enter the second pillar of his philosophy, the distinction between intelligence and intuition. For Bergson, human intelligence is a practical evolutionary tool. It did not evolve to know the deep truth of reality, but to manipulate matter and ensure our survival. Intelligence works by separating, analyzing, classifying, and spatializing. It feels comfortable with the solid, the immobile, and the dead. It is like a butcher who cuts reality into manageable pieces to understand it. It is incredibly useful for building machines, but terrible for understanding life. When intelligence tries to understand life, it treats it like a machine. It tries to explain consciousness by adding up neurons, or evolution by adding up random mutations. But in doing so, it loses the essence of the phenomenon, the vital flow that animates the whole. But we are not condemned to see the world only through cold intelligence. Bergson tells us that we have another faculty, often ignored or atrophied: intuition. Mind you, he isn't referring to a vague or magical hunch. For Bergson, intuition is a rigorous method of knowledge. Intuition is the effort to install oneself inside the object, rather than observing it from the outside. It is an intellectual sympathy by which we transport ourselves into the interior of something to coincide with what is unique and inexpressible about it. It is to stop analyzing and start feeling the rhythm of reality. If intelligence is reading a map of Paris with its static streets and coded names, intuition is walking through its streets, feeling the cobblestones under your feet, smelling the fresh bread, and perceiving the bustle of the city as a vibrant whole. The map is useful, but it is not the city. Science, according to Bergson, is the domain of intelligence and matter. Metaphysics, on the other hand, must be the domain of intuition and spirit. They are not enemies, but complementary. We need both. But the modern error has been to let intelligence colonize everything, suffocating our intuition. Now let's take these ideas to the largest possible stage, the evolution of life itself. In 1907, Bergson published his masterpiece, Creative Evolution. Here he applies the idea of duration and intuition to challenge the biological theories of his time: Darwinism and finalism. Mechanistic Darwinism saw evolution as a series of accidents added to natural selection. Finalism saw evolution as a predetermined plan, where everything was written from the beginning toward a final goal. For Bergson, both views made the same mistake. They denied real creation. If everything is a blind mechanism, there is no real novelty. If everything is a pre-written divine plan, there is no novelty either, as everything is already given in the plan. Bergson proposes a third way, an explosive and unpredictable force that pushes life toward increasingly complex forms. He called this force the élan vital, or vital impulse. Imagine it not as a physical substance, but as a current of consciousness and freedom trying to break its way through inert matter. Matter is the resistance, the falling weight. Life is the rising rocket. The élan vital is like a projectile that bursts into fragments, and those fragments burst again. Each species is a path that life attempted. Some paths, like those of many insects or plants, reached dead ends or stagnated in stability. But in other lines, the impulse continued to move forward, overcoming the resistance of matter. Bergson sees two great lines of success in evolution: instinct, perfected in insects like bees and ants, and intelligence perfected in the human being. This vision gives us a fascinating perspective on ourselves. We are not biological machines determined by our genes. We are the spearhead of an immense creative effort that has been fighting for billions of years to free itself from mechanical necessity. This inevitably leads us to the problem of freedom. If time is a spatialized line and everything has a mechanical cause, freedom is impossible. But if time is duration, if the future is not written and is being created moment by moment, then the door to freedom opens. Bergson tells us, we are free when our acts emanate from our entire personality. Freedom is not choosing between A and B like someone choosing from a menu. Freedom is an act of personal creation where we express our deep nature within duration. However, most of the time we are not free. We live on the surface of ourselves, acting out of habit, social convention, and automatism. We are like conscious automatons for most of the day. Real freedom is rare. It is a moment of deep connection with our inner duration. This idea of the superficial life versus the deep life also explains his theory of memory. For Bergson, the brain does not store memories like a hard drive saves files. The brain is rather a filter, a reducing valve. Our complete memory, our entire past, is always with us, pressing against the door of consciousness. It is like a rolling, growing snowball, accumulating everything that has been. The past does not cease to exist, it simply ceases to be useful for present action. The brain's function is to keep the past at bay, letting through only those memories that are useful for what we are doing right now. If we remembered everything at once, we could not act. But sometimes in dreams or moments of intuition, the filter relaxes and the past floods the present. Let's go back for a moment to the distinction between instinct and intelligence. Because here Bergson makes a brilliant observation about society and technology. Intelligence manufactures artificial tools. Instinct uses organic tools. That is, the body itself. The greatness of the human being is the capacity to manufacture tools to manufacture other tools. This gives us unlimited power over matter. But this power comes at a price. We move away from the immediacy of life. We become external to the things we manipulate. That is why Bergson warned as early as the start of the 20th century that our technological development, our enlarged body, had surpassed our spiritual development, our soul supplement. We had the power of gods, but the wisdom of children, a dangerous combination that would resonate in the world wars. Let's talk now about a curious aspect of his work: laughter. Why do we laugh? Bergson wrote an entire essay on this. His thesis is simple and profound. The comic is something mechanical encrusted upon the living. We laugh when we see a human behaving like a machine. If a man runs and trips, we laugh because he lacked the vital flexibility to adapt to the obstacle. He kept moving due to mechanical inertia. Laughter is a social punishment, a correction that society imposes on those who become rigid and lose their vital elasticity. It is a fascinating vision. Rigidity, repetition, lack of adaptation, all of that is contrary to life, which is constant change and fluidity. Society demands that we be awake and flexible, and it uses laughter to wake up those who have fallen asleep in their automatisms. In his final years, Bergson turned his gaze toward ethics and religion in the two sources of morality and religion. Here he distinguishes between the closed society and the open society, a distinction that would profoundly influence thinkers like Karl Popper. Closed morality is that of social instinct, the tribe, pure obligation, and social pressure. It is designed for group cohesion and defense against others. It is static and necessary for basic survival. But it is not the whole moral story. Opposite it is open morality. This is born not from social pressure, but from the call of great individuals, the mystics, the saints, the moral heroes. It is a morality of universal love that transcends the tribe and embraces all of humanity. It is dynamic and creative. For Bergson, the mystic is the culmination of the vital impulse. While biological evolution stops at the species, the mystic breaks that barrier and reconnects with the very source of the elan vital, which is ultimately pure love and creation. It is important to note that Bergson does not speak of a mysticism of withdrawal from the world. True mysticism for him is active. The mystic climbs the mountain to contact the divine, but then comes down to transform the world and elevate humanity with their overflowing energy. Bergson's philosophy fell out of favor in the mid-20th century, eclipsed by existentialism and later by structuralism, which hated the idea of a nature or a vital impulse. He was considered too poetic, too irrational for the analytical era. However, in recent decades, there has been a Bergsonian renaissance, thanks in part to the philosopher Gilles Deleuze, who recovered his concepts of time and difference. Today, in a world dominated by algorithms and digital clocks, Bergson is more relevant than ever. We live in an age of fragmented time. Our notifications cut our duration every few seconds. We are losing the ability to flow, to concentrate deeply, to experience durée. We are becoming the machines that Bergson feared. Recovering Bergson is recovering our right to an inner life. It is remembering that we are more than data, more than mechanistic biology. It is an invitation to close your eyes, ignore the clock, and feel the continuous pulse of your own existence. So, how can we apply this today? First, distrust static labels. You are not an introvert or a failure in a fixed way. Those are words of the intellect. You are a process, a flow in constant change. Your past pushes you, but it does not define you completely. Second, value your intuition. In a world obsessed with data and metrics, remember that there are truths that can only be captured through sympathy and direct connection. Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. And third, embrace creativity. The universe is not a closed clock. It is a work of art being painted in real time, and you are part of the brush. You have the ability to introduce novelty into the world, to break the chain of repetition. Bergson taught us that time is the very fabric of reality. Time is invention, or it is nothing at all, he wrote. If time were just a repetition of the same thing, the universe would have ended long ago. The existence of time proves there is creation. It's easy to fall into pessimism or determinism. It's easy to think we are victims of our circumstances. But the philosophy of the elan vital is a philosophy of radical optimism. It tells us that life is tenacious, ingenious, and always looks for a way up. In the end, Henri Bergson leaves us with an image of the human being, not as a passive spectator, but as an active collaborator in the great adventure of the cosmos. Our consciousness is the place where matter becomes capable of remembering and choosing. That said, we must not forget the criticisms. Bertrand Russell, a fierce logician, detested Bergson. He said his philosophy was an excuse for not thinking rigorously. And it is true that the cult of intuition can lead to dangerous irrationalism if we aren't careful. But Bergson never asked us to abandon intelligence. He only asked that we recognize its limits. Intelligence for matter, intuition for life. The danger lies in using the wrong tool for the wrong job. Don't use a hammer to fix a watch. His legacy lives on in literature as well. Marcel Proust, who was Bergson's cousin-in-law, built his monumental work In Search of Lost Time on a very Bergsonian conception of time and memory. The taste of the Madeleine is pure intuition of memory. Imagine reality as a fountain. The water going up is the vital impulse. Life struggling. The water falling, the drops separating and descending is matter. We are right at the point where the jet struggles against gravity. That tension is our existence. This metaphor explains why living requires effort. Letting yourself go is falling toward matter, toward inertia, toward habit. Rising, creating, being free requires tension and energy. Freedom is not a gift. It is a constant conquest against our own laziness. Bergson challenges us to live in tension, to not settle for ready-made answers, to look inside ourselves and find that unique flow that we are. It is a demanding philosophy, but deeply liberating. It restores the dignity of being creators. In a sense, Bergson anticipated quantum physics. The idea that the observer and the observed cannot be completely separated, and that reality is not determined until it happens, resonates with his ideas on the unpredictability of time. But beyond science, it is a cure for the modern soul. We feel trapped because we think the future is already decided by the economy, politics, or the climate. Bergson screams at us from his grave, "No! The future does not exist yet. We are making it." Duration is the fabric where our freedom is embroidered. If we ignore this, we live like shadows. If we accept it, life takes on a new intensity. Each moment becomes precious because it is unrepeatable and charged with radical novelty. Think about education. Do we educate children to be efficient machines or to be intuitive creators? The school system, largely Prussian and mechanistic, often crushes the child's internal duration in favor of the school clock's time. Bergson would advocate for a pedagogy that respects learning rhythms, that values the spark of sudden understanding as much as linear memorization. Understanding something is not just repeating data, it is reconstructing it internally, reinventing it. Returning to metaphysics, Bergson offers us a solution to the mind-body problem. They are not two separate substances that mysteriously interact. They are two poles of the same reality: duration. The body is the extreme point of present action. The mind is the accumulated past. The spirit borrows matter to act in the world. Without a body, the mind would have no grip on reality. Without a mind, the body would be an automaton. Their union is necessary for action, which is the supreme end of life. This philosophy of action is key. Bergson is not a passive contemplative. For him, thinking is preparing to act. Perception is just a preparation for reaction. We see what we can affect. Our visual world is a map of our possible actions. This explains why we don't see everything. If we saw everything, we would be overwhelmed. Our perception cuts out reality according to our needs. We see grass as food if we are cows, or as a lawn if we are gardeners. We don't see the grass in itself, in its fullness. Only the artist, says Bergson, sometimes manages to lift that veil. The artist does not look in order to act. They look for the sake of looking. That is why art moves us so much. It shows us unfiltered reality without the label of utility. It allows us to see direct duration. So, what is the big message you take away today? That time is yours. Not clock time. That belongs to your boss or your train schedule. But real-time duration, that internal flow where you truly exist and where you are free. Don't let your life become a series of boxes checked off on a list. Allow the music of your existence to flow. Accept uncertainty, because uncertainty is the price of novelty. If you knew exactly what would happen tomorrow, you would already be dead. Bergson's philosophy is an antidote to modern nihilism. It reminds us that we are part of a cosmic force that seeks, invents, and loves. We are not accidents. We are the universe's attempt to create itself. As we approach the end of this essay, I want to invite you to do a Bergsonian exercise. Next time you listen to music, close your eyes. Don't analyze the notes. Don't think about the composer. Just let yourself be carried away by the indivisible flow of the sound. Feel how the past of the melody pushes into the present. Feel how, in that moment, you are not in time. You are time. That feeling is the deepest reality you can access. It is contact with the absolute. Bergson died in 1941 in a Nazi-occupied Paris. It is said that, although he was ill, he gave up his honors to stand in line and register as a Jew, a final act of solidarity and dignity, an act of supreme freedom. His life and work are a testament to the strength of the human spirit. In a world that tried to reduce everything to matter and race, he defended the spirit and universal humanity. His voice continues to resonate as a call to inner resistance. I hope this journey through Henri Bergson's philosophy has lit a spark in your intellect. Complex ideas should not scare us. They are tools for living better, seeing more clearly, and being freer. If you enjoyed this analysis, consider that this is only the beginning. Philosophy is an inexhaustible ocean, and every thinker is an island worth exploring. Bergson is just one stop, but an indispensable one. Thank you for dedicating your time, your real duration, to sharing this space with me. In a world of constant distraction, paying deep attention is a revolutionary act. Thank you for being here. If you want to keep exploring the depths of human thought, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Leave a comment below. Do you feel like you live in clock time or in real duration? I would love to hear from you.